This copy of SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake was provided by THQ Nordic. Thank you guys so much for giving me a copy of this game to review. It really means a lot. For those of you who don't know, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom was the first video game I ever played. Back in 2003, and even to this day, this was my idea of a perfect platformer. Great level design, great sense of progression, amazing music, and just an overall great package altogether. I have been waiting for a sequel to this game for my whole life.
Bruh.
I mean, a proper sequel. A game that utilizes the core mechanics of the game that came before it, unlike Truth or Square, while also having its own original story and theme, unlike the movie game. Well, 20 years later, we finally got that with SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake. After remaking the classic Battle for Bikini Bottom back in 2020, Purple Lamp Studios got the chance to make a proper sequel. How did it come out? How does it compare to Battle for Bikini Bottom? That is what we're going to be discussing today. Grab yourself a Krabby Patty and get comfortable because we are going to dive into the world of Bikini Bottom in my review of SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake for the Nintendo Switch. While this will be a spoiler-free review, I will tell you the basic plot of the game. The story honestly follows a lot of beats that Battle for Bikini Bottom story does. SpongeBob and Patrick go to Glove World. Oh look, a bomb bot! Sorry, getting distracted. Anyways, at Glove World, they bump into a mysterious mermaid named Cassandra. She sells a bunch of junk, magical wares, and among them is a bottle of mermaid's tears. These tears can grant the wisher any wish they want, so long as they are pure of heart. Well, SpongeBob gets a bit carried away and makes too many wishes, causing the entire world of Bikini Bottom to get sucked into portals and teleported to these magic wish worlds. These wish worlds are basically alternate versions of Bikini Bottom locations, with each set having unique versions of your favorite Bikini Bottomites that have no recollection of you, SpongeBob, or the real Bikini Bottom. It's your job to A, save all of your friends and bring them back to Bikini Bottom, but also B, you gotta collect all the cosmic jelly around these worlds and return them to Cassandra to bring order and peace back to Bikini Bottom. As I mentioned, the similarities to Battle for Bikini Bottom story are pretty obvious, where SpongeBob and Patrick make a wish and then it comes true, but this time, it is actually the fault of SpongeBob rather than Plankton like in Battle for Bikini Bottom. It's a cute story that differentiates itself enough from Battle for Bikini Bottom, particularly as the story progresses, to make it stand on its own 2 feet. Not to mention, the dialogue and references throughout the game really boost that feeling. The game being fully voiced by the actual original SpongeBob cast definitely helps this feel more like a proper episode of SpongeBob. I'll cover the references and all that more in a little bit, but overall the story, while it does follow a lot of the same beats that Battle for Bikini Bottom does, it does stand on its own 2 feet and is a really cute and fun story. The gameplay in this game is similar to that in Battle for Bikini Bottom, with many new moves and features to evolve it beyond the more simple platforming that Battle for Bikini Bottom had to offer. SpongeBob has many more moves at his disposal, being that you're playing as one character as opposed to 3. These moves include a fishhook swing, a dodge roll, a bubble throw which acts like the bubble bowl, an air glide, a bubble surfboard that you can use to fly around for a short period of time, a homing karate kick attack, and a reef blower that you can suck up enemies with and fire their jelly at whatever you want. Each one of these moves are used a decent amount throughout the game, with none of them seeming pointless or underutilized. For me, the best addition is definitely the homing karate kick. This attack not only makes combat feel smoother and more fun, but it also makes traversal fun as well. It rectifies the slower feeling of movement that made Rehydrated a little less fun to play than the original. The bubble surfboard is also a fun one, offering many cool things including ring challenges that are akin to the movie game Sonic Wave Guitar challenges, but less frustrating. Sliding also returns from Battle for Bikini Bottom, and it feels better here that it does in Rehydrated, and I like that you can change your speed when going down the slide. You can also boulder run in this game, using a giant rock to run over lava. These segments were fine, there was nothing too notable about them, but they were fun enough for me not to be bored by them. Another similarity to Battle for Bikini Bottom is the level structure. The levels are relatively linear, but have different paths for you to explore down to find hidden collectibles and things required to complete side missions given to you by the game's many characters. However, there are no main collectibles that you need to progress in the game. There are no golden spatulas as such. Well, there are golden spatulas, but as of writing this review, I have absolutely no idea what their functionality is. They might be a collectible purely for the sake of being a collectible. The main thing you need to collect here are the doubloons hidden in the world to unlock new costumes, and the jelly scattered throughout each level, as it will help you buy those costumes. Overall, the gameplay is fun, and if playing the bare minimum with little exploration, will take you about 6 to 7 hours to beat, with some hours being added if you want to 100% it with no guide. Like I did. Yo, ho, yo, ho, yo, ho. Now I will say I did get review copies of this game for both the Nintendo Switch and PC. And my first experience with this game was the PC version, as you will see in my Zach Play series that is starting later today. Make sure to check it out later when it premieres. But after playing the Switch version, I will say that it is definitely a competent version of this game. Mind you, the version I played for this review is before the Day 1 patch, so I am sure that some of the issues that I had that I'll mention in a little bit will be fixed by the time that you guys get to play the game. If I had to be honest, I think the level that had the hardest time in terms of performance has to be Rock Bottom, as I definitely did experience some frame rate stuttering. But THQ Nordic did tell me that this is a known issue to them and that they are trying to address it, and this might even be patched in the Day 1 patch. Other than that, the game was mostly smooth, at a mostly stable 30 FPS, with some hiccups in some of the bigger areas, or if there's a lot of enemies, or just things in general going on screen. Don't worry, the intense amount of bugs present in Rehydrated at launch are definitely not present here. Textures load properly, loading times are better, and it feels more polished all around. The only consistent issue I had, which was actually exclusive to the Switch version as I did not have this in the PC version, sometimes the bubble throw wouldn't go where it was supposed to, even with the target locked on. This did get annoying, but it was a very minor thing. The main thing THQ Nordic need to fix are the sometimes inconsistent frame rates, but as mentioned before, they aren't too bad. As for the graphics themselves, they actually look really good on the Switch, especially the cutscenes. Gone are the pixelated shadows from Rehydrated, and in are nice, smooth cutscenes. While some of the cutscenes may be a bit abrupt in their transition to the gameplay, the visuals are honestly really great. Especially getting those nice little surprise images throughout them. Thanks Purple Lamp for this nightmare fuel. But overall, the visuals are really bright, colorful, and fun. They suit the game very well, and the game benefits from it greatly. Especially watching the characters interact, as they are a lot more expressive in this game, and their movements reflect what they are saying more in this game as opposed to Battle for Bikini Bottom. It's just a well-crafted and really good-looking game. As mentioned before, the levels are based on existing Bikini Bottom locations, but differently themed because of the cosmic chaos. While I won't go too into depth on these levels, as I want you all to experience them for yourselves, I generally liked each level, as each level offered something really interesting and different from the rest. If I had to pick a favorite level amongst these, it would have to be either Karate Downtown Bikini Bottom or Halloween Rock Bottom. Karate Downtown was just a super fun level to play through, with some jazzy music and a pretty cool boss fight at the end of the level. Halloween Rock Bottom, on the other hand, was just a perfectly themed level with by far the best music in the whole entire game. I mean, listen to this! I did genuinely quite enjoy every single level in this game. Well, except for one. The only level I didn't love was Kelp Forest, of course. While it wasn't a bad level by any stretch of the imagination and was nowhere near as tedious as Kelp Forest was in Battle for Bikini Bottom, the level was really short and had some underwhelming slide and boulder running segments and just was not as fun to play through as the other levels in my personal opinion. However, the boss in Kelp Forest was actually my favorite in the whole entire game. I actually found it to be pretty difficult, which made it more fun for me. Speaking of bosses, each level has one, and I do think it is a mixed bag. Some, like Rock Bottom and Kelp Forest, had great boss battles, but Goo Lagoon's boss fight was just an enemy gauntlet instead of actually getting to fight Prawn, and even worse, the final boss battle was way too easy. But I will talk about that more later without getting into any spoilers, don't worry. When it comes to the different references towards the source material, this game is insane. If you thought Battle for Bikini Bottom did a great job, this game blows it out of the water. Unlike Battle for Bikini Bottom, this game has over 20 years of history to work with, and it utilizes it well without feeling like it leans too heavily into old school or new school. It's a nice balance. The dialogue in particular really encompasses a lot of show Easter eggs with references to different episodes, plots of the show, and even just funny jokes that you can see the characters saying in the show.
I can't feel my leg anymore.
This also extends to the costumes. Throughout the story, you unlock these cosmic costumes that will allow you to travel into these wish worlds. These costumes are cute little references and Easter eggs throughout the show, and there are also costumes that you unlock by collecting the 70 doubloons scattered throughout all of these worlds. The costume references many episodes of SpongeBob, and even 2 of them reference Battle for Bikini Bottom. One of which is obviously the robot SpongeBob costume, but the other one I won't quite spoil. You'll have to find out for yourself. You collect these doubloons I mentioned by completing missions throughout the game, as well as returning to previous levels with the new moves that you've learned to complete objectives. While a lot of these missions do end up being fetch quests, they were honestly quite fun, even if a couple of them took me a while to complete. I'm looking at you, the fake Dutchman in Halloween Rock Bottom. The different costumes are worth it though. Are you thinking about 100% completing the game and getting all of the costumes? Let me know down in the comments down below. With a lot of the community of Battle for Bikini Bottom being the speedrunning community, a question that will come up is how will this game be for the speedrunners? While I myself am not a speedrunner, I can already tell the potential with this game is high. The main reason I think that is because of the homing kick. The homing kick, if utilized correctly, could be something that can help you navigate through a level and defeat enemies way quicker than using normal platforming. I am sure glitches and cheats will also help, but optimizing your route using this click is a surefire way to get the fastest routes. Also, there are these time segments that involve using the different moves throughout the game to get through a series of obstacles as quickly as you can. I am certain there are ways to optimize your paths, as Shift has already shown off his ways of improving his times by doing these challenges. They are optional to do, but if you do want to do a 100% run, then they will be something that you actually have to do. Of course, I have talked mostly positively about the Cosmic Shake. This game does so many things right. However, no game is perfect, and this game is no exception. There were a few decisions made with this game that didn't always land with me. Keep in mind that none of these make me think the game is bad, they are just things that I would personally change. I honestly think that most of the enemies in the Cosmic Shake are really good, but there is one enemy that stands out to me as one that could be improved upon. In Halloween Rock Bottom, some new enemies are introduced that are reminiscent of the Sleepy Time robots from Battle for Bikini Bottom. If you enter their light, they will spot you and can freeze you with an ice ray. The problem with these enemies is that they're just too easy. There are sections of Halloween Rock Bottom where you're supposed to stealthily sneak around these enemies to make it to the other side, but the problem is that as long as you move quickly, there is no punishment for alerting these enemies. So it makes the stealth sections of the level seem kind of pointless, as you can just run through them without being zapped at all. Especially as late game enemies, I feel like they should have been made a little bit harder. Next, as I mentioned earlier, to earn doubloons in this game, you need to complete quests for certain characters throughout the hub world. It's a clever way to make people earn doubloons, but every single one of these tasks is a fetch quest. You know the ones in Battle for Bikini Bottom that Mrs. Puff usually had you do? Where you had to find a bunch of steering wheels, artwork, lost campers? Well, this time there are fetch quests like those in every single level with the exception of Glove World. Heck, Halloween Rock Bottom has 2 of these kinds of side missions. They aren't bad, in fact they actually are quite fun and push you to explore the levels more, but a bit more variety in these side objectives would not have gone amiss. Alright, I won't spoil what it is, I promise, but I was actually pretty disappointed in the final boss fight. The boss itself conceptually was pretty cool, but the build-up and resolution to the battle definitely felt rushed and way too quick. And as for the boss fight itself, it wasn't too bad and it did feel epic, but it was way too easy. It took me literally only 2 minutes to beat it on my first playthrough. Like I said, conceptually, I love the idea of this boss, but it should have done more. It only really utilized one of SpongeBob's moves for the fight, when you should have had all of SpongeBob's moves to figure out how to take down the boss, just like Robot SpongeBob in Battle for Bikini Bottom. In that battle, you had to use the Bubble Bowl, the Cruise Bubble, the Up Bash, etc. Here, it's just one move, one phase, 3 hits. It should have been a multi-phase battle where you use every single move you learned throughout the game to take down this worthy adversary. An easy boss fight isn't a horrible thing, automatically, but since it's the final boss, I did expect a lot more, especially as boss fights in previous levels, like the Kelp Forest fight, were actually pretty difficult. Alright, this next problem is actually a kind of noticeable one. This cutscene you're seeing here, the background looks like it's untextured, but that seems to not be the case. There's a layer of fog which sports a different color depending on the level you're in, and it covers the environment. So for example, in the hub world, the fog is blue, and anything really far in the background just looks like it's an untextured blue color. It can be pretty distracting, but I will say that it's only really, super noticeable in the intro cutscene, or at least it was for me. And also keep in mind that this was not a problem exclusive to the Switch version, as it is also evident in the PC version as you're seeing on screen here. Alright, next up, this is actually probably one of the biggest issues with the game. So, the music in this game is actually really good, as I mentioned earlier, but there is one fatal flaw, and this is the problem that I predicted would happen. This game uses both original music and music from the show, and I have been made aware by my contact at THQ Nordic about an issue with the music that makes it so that streamers and content creators cannot monetize their videos and streams very much because of their music getting claimed. For people who want to do speedrunning streams or casual streams, there is a massive possibility of their content being claimed for the music. This is something they are working on a solution for, so I really hope they find one, but as I've said before, a streamer mode where there is no copyrighted music would have prevented all of this from happening. It could really hurt the game in the end, since a lot of gamers look to content creators to see if a game is good or not, and if content creators can't play it for their viewers because of copyright issues, that could really sting. This flaw is not one that will affect players who just want to play the game for fun, I do recognize that, and it may even be nice to have cool music from the show for them, but for content creators and streamers, this is a pretty big issue. Okay, this last one I will openly admit is a nitpick, but as someone who has a GameCube Pro controller, one feature I think games should have more often is a button mapping option. Neither the Switch nor PC versions allow you to remap the buttons on your controller. It's not a necessity, but it's something that would be nice to offer, as there are many different types of controllers out there, and they don't all feel great to play with this native button control scheme that the game has natively. However, if you're using a normal controller, this will not be an issue for you, as the controls are pretty much fine all around, especially on the Xbox controller and the Switch Pro controller, which were the two main controllers I used for my playthroughs. Overall, I really enjoyed SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake. This platformer felt like Battle for Bikini Bottom, but expanded in ways I couldn't have even imagined. Everything from the fun levels, to the amazing music, to the fun, cartoony visuals, and all the different references to the show make this a platformer that anyone can enjoy. Of course, if you're a fan of SpongeBob, then you are obviously going to get a lot of enjoyment out of this game. But even someone who hasn't seen an episode of SpongeBob will most likely get enjoyment out of this game because it's just solid platforming. Yes, the fetch quest can get a little bit repetitive and the final boss is just way too easy, but I can solidly say that this game is worth every penny. I give this game a final score of 8.5 out of 10. I really hope that Purple Lamp Studios get to make more great SpongeBob games like this one, as I can see the vast improvement between Rehydrated and this game. If I were to recommend you to get a certain version of the game between the PC and Switch versions, if you have a good quality PC, I'll just point you in that direction. But if you don't mind it running at 30 FPS and want to play it on the go, the Switch version of the game is a very competent version, even if its loading times are a little bit longer and there are some frame rate hiccups. THQ Nordic are aware of issues in the Cosmic Shake, and some of which may even be patched by the time the game launches, so don't worry about the Switch version being an inferior version. It is almost just as good as its other console counterparts. I really hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, definitely drop a like and subscribe down below. It'll truly mean a lot to me. And of course, hit that notification bell so that you're notified of when I upload videos. I am going to be playing through the Cosmic Shake on my channel. You're going to be seeing my first time ever playing it, so hopefully you enjoy it. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. And until next time, I'll see you all in the next one.